Some of you seem to still think it's complicated. Allow me to simplify this for you because it's actually quite simple. On October 7th, Hamas operatives went to an Israeli home. There was a mother, a father, and a baby. They beheaded the father, they took the baby, they put the baby in an oven and turned on the oven. And as the baby was screaming because it was cooking to death, they raped the mother in front of it again and again and again and again. Then they beheaded her too and left the baby there to cook to death. If you support Hamas, that's what you support. If you call for ceasefire, you ask for us to not go after Hamas and let them continue their ways. That makes you on the same level as them, same frequency, in agreement. I don't know what you believe in, a god, a goddess, a universe, karma, heaven, hell. But something out there is watching you. Not me, I'm just human, but something is watching you. And if you think you won't be judged for where you stand today, unprecedented miracle of an indigenous victory. Most of planet Earth is made of countries that were colonized by other people who came into a land and took over it from the indigenous people in it, turning them into either refugees or minority in their own original land. Except for one rare story. The Israelites are indigenous to the indigenous. They are the oldest people to still walk the earth and practice their own customs and ancient language. 4,000 years old, actually. Some will say 5,000. Supported by archaeology, yes. And DNA, yes, yes. In the 2nd century, a Roman emperor changed the name of Israel to Palestina as an insult to the Jewish people there because Palestina in Hebrew means the invasion. Since then, many colonizers and imperialists have occupied the land from the Jews. Basically, Israel is what America would have been had the Native Americans won. A cosmic miracle like no other. Hey there, anti-colonizer. I think you're a good person because colonizing indigenous people is bad. But I just want to ask you this. How do you think, let's say you're in America, how do you think Native Americans feel watching you protest so passionately and adamantly for the colonized Palestinians, but not say a word for the colonized Native Americans? I mean, you just like to judge other countries, but not your own. Maybe you just like to judge other people and not yourself because you can't handle yourself. You just project onto others, which makes it not pro-indigenous, but anti-others because you can't handle yourself. That's hateful and unaware. You know what? Let's take a step further. If you're a New Zealander and you speak pro the Palestinian who are colonized and against the colonizer Israeli, but you don't ever speak up for the Maoris, how do you think that makes them feel watching you do that? Now let's make matters worse for you. The Palestinians are not actually colonized. That's fake history. It means nothing to you. You either don't know history and you just yell against the Jews, or you know history and you just lie and yell against the Jews. Imagine someone telling you they're not racist, they love black people, they just think all black people should be slaves. Imagine someone telling you they're not homophobic, they love gay people, they just think gay people need to get the help that they need so they're not attracted to the same sex. Yeah, that face, that right there. Now imagine someone telling you they're not anti-Semitic, they love Jews, they just want us exiled, homeless, persecuted, and massacred. Because they're not anti-Semitic, they're anti-Zionist. If you responded with shock to the first two examples, but for the last one you were like, you're either in a very bad crowd or you are the bad crowd. Zionism is an indigenous human rights movement that claims that the Jewish people have a right for self-determination to live free and safe in their indigenous homeland. Separating Zionism from Judaism is like separating black skin from black people or separating being attracted to the same sex from gay people. Following anyone, Jew or non-Jew, that tells you that anti-Zionism is not anti-Semitism is anti-Semitic. So the reason why you should stand by our side is that it's not just Jewish people in Israel that are getting hurt. There are also Muslims, like 2 million Arabs in Israel that are Israeli citizens, who are also hurt by terrorism. Oh, now you care about us and you're okay with us fighting for our survival. Thank you so much. I knew this would help. See, when it's just Jewish suffering and Jewish persecution and just us standing up for our right to survive and to exist, that's not good enough for you because deep down you don't think we have the right to exist. But if also other people get hurt, if there are other victims like Muslims or other people other than Jews that are hurt, then you're on our side and you want to fight next to us or just allow us to stand up for ourselves. Thank you. But here's the thing, I don't care. We don't care. We don't ask for your permission. We do not give a fuck about what you think. If you think we don't have the right to defend ourselves, if you think we need to have another victim next to us, suffering next to us in order for us to live, fuck. The reason people deny the atrocities of October 7th, the suffering of the Jewish people, and the psychopathy and monstrosity of Hamas is very simple. I mean, there's a lot of all kinds of avenues to it, but it starts in one place. These people have spent the better part of their life supporting, cheering for, praying for, speaking up for an organization, people that they now discover are monsters. If they are monsters, if what happened to the Jewish people is actual Nazism, then it places them as supporters of atrocities and of Nazism. People are now in denial to the depth of their own ignorance and evil that they have imposed on the Jewish people. They're not trying to save Hamas. They're trying to save themselves from understanding who they've been, instead of, I don't know, changing and improving. Hey, Celebrity Bae. I get it. You have followers. You care about them. Some of them are the known ones. The neo-Nazis, the Black Hebrew Israelites, the far radical left. They just really hate Jews. Sorry, Israelis. Sorry, Zionists. Sorry, Jews. But you also have, in the world, 1.2 billion Muslims. 75% of them are absolutely moderate. Many of them are allies to Israel and to the Jewish people. Some of them even serve with us in the IDF. We love them. But then the 15 to 25% of world Muslims, they are radicals. And by radical, I don't mean like dramatic. By radical, I mean like want to kill Jews / is very happy when Jews are murdered. How much is 15 to 25% of 1.2 billion people? 180 million to 300 million human beings who want every Jew dead. Just so you know, there are only 15 million Jews worldwide. Don't keep those followers, keep your soul. The reward is being on the right side of history. Would you hide me? Well, first off, if you don't know that America needs to be saved, this video is too advanced for you. Secondly, I never said I was modest. And third, the way to save America is by immediately cutting funding of Middle Eastern jihadi dictatorships from the media and from education in America. Yes, many countries that are a dictatorship in the Middle East are funding a lot of media, news outlets, and are funding a lot of schools by donating millions and millions of dollars. And that never comes without attachments. You are now being educated, and in the past 20 years you have been puppeteered, allegedly by English speakers that are paid by jihadi speakers. If there was a story about a woman being raped by an attacker, and then they would report about it on the news, and they would equate that woman to someone who maybe a little bit had it coming, and the rapist to someone who had a rough childhood, and the language would be a bit more easy on them. And then when they're asked why they don't objectively portray the reality as it was, they would answer with, well, we want to report in an objective way and not take sides. Objectivity means showing the reality as it is. When you twist the reality to showcase evil as okay and showcase good as maybe not so okay, bring them from their extremes to the middle, that's not a balancing act. That's deceit. That's manipulation. That is the opposite of objectivity. It is biased. It's not even subjective. It's just biased, misleading lie. That's what reporters do to Israel. I'm so sorry you got raped. You have all my sympathies, really. But you can't ignore the other side, so I have to do my job and ask you this. You know, since you've complained about your rapist, they put them in prison. That means he can't move, he's not free. You should be more proportionate. If the rape lasted, 10, 15 minutes, maybe you should have him in prison just for 10, 15 minutes. And and again, you have all my sympathies, but what about your rapist child? I mean, he's going to grow up without a dad. I'm sure you must be able to find it in your heart to show some to show some humanitarianism. And again, I really sympathize with you. I mean, being raped, that's terrible, but you have to be balanced and look at the other side of it. And we're all looking forward to you being a humanitarian. Dear media, an old Jewish man went to a pro-Palestinian rally in LA the other day. He was hit by a pro-Palestinian protester on the head, succumbed to his injury, and passed away. Where's the reporting? Why is it not all over the news? Oh, I know. You don't want radical, violent, dangerous, evil people to look radical, violent, dangerous. Because God forbid your viewers will know the truth, given how it's your job to tell the viewers the truth. When you whitewash and underreport persecution against Jews and the murders of Jews for being Jews, you are a part of it. Our blood is on your cowardly hands. If you think political correctness and cowardice are more important than truth and justice, you're evil. So Israel found Mein Kampf, Hitler's book, translated into Arabic in Gaza. International media seems so surprised. They report with... Let's break down the shock, shall we? In the 1920s, back when there was the British Mandate of Palestine, when Muslims and Jews lived together under the British, the Arabs of the region, the Muslims of the region, enacted several pogroms against the Jewish people in an attempt to annihilate all of them. Fast forward a little bit to early 1940s, the Holocaust. The Mufti of the Arabs of the region, today Palestinians, back then the Arabs of the region, had met with Hitler and even had a tour in the concentration camps during the Holocaust. Then in the 1980s, Hamas puts down in their charter that their complete goal is to eradicate all Jews. And since then, they've been attempting with massacres and bombings. Tell me more how you're surprised that they carry Nazi ideology. For several decades now, the Palestinian Authority has been enacting pay to slay, a monthly salary to any Palestinian who murders a Jew. The more Jews they kill, the more money they receive. But forget the past decades. Let's talk about the past couple of weeks, okay? October 20th, 13 days after October 7th massacre. Palestinian Authority came out with a preach to all mosques leaders that they should preach to all their followings to enact the prophecy of Muhammad. Which prophecy will that be? The one where Jews hide behind trees and rocks when Muslims try to kill them, and then the trees and the rocks yell, "Muslim, oh Muslim, there's a Jew hiding behind me, come and kill him." Oh, don't believe me, it's written black on white in the Quran. Oh, I know when you'll wake up, when we're all already dead, and you'll be like, "Oh my God, that's so sad, what happened to the Jews?" Should we grab Starbucks? The base premise to how many numbers you're expected to see the bare minimum of when it comes to casualties in Gaza are thousands. On October 7th, thousands of Palestinian terrorists infiltrated Israel, murdered, butchered, raped, burned, executed, beheaded, etc. of innocent Israelis. Now, the IDF vocally claimed that it's going after Hamas and the terrorists who are responsible, and all of Hamas and Islamic Jihad infrastructure. All of the terrorists. Now, there are thousands of them, so we're going to start with thousands. When Hamas, the health minister of Gaza, the education minister of Gaza, literally everyone in Gaza gives you numbers, this is what is included in those numbers. Hamas terrorists, Islamic Jihad terrorists. They don't differentiate in the numbers. They don't tell you we had X amount of terrorists dead, X amount of innocent civilians dead. Now let's add more aspect to the numbers that they're telling you. When they hit with their own rockets onto their own people and there are casualties, they count those too. And then many of the remaining aspects of those numbers, well, let's just say check out #Pallywood. But now we also have to talk about the actual innocent people who die there. If a Palestinian parent knows they're about to be bombed and they don't take their child far away from there, it's the parent's fault. And Israel mourns these kids. Allow me to explain how a ceasefire will benefit Palestinian children, and I'm saying this because I care about Palestinian children. If Israel ceases fire, Hamas will regroup, rearm, and continue their agenda of attempting to slaughter Israeli children. being that Palestinian children are taught in their schools by Hamas affiliations in their education system that killing Jewish children, Israeli people, will get them to heaven, this will make these children very, very happy. Because I care about Palestinian children, I want them to grow up to becoming a psychotic murderers that think that if they murder a Jew, they'll get to heaven and have 72 virgins, because this type of ignorance is really good for people. Israel will cease fire. Hamas will continue. Palestinian children will keep being brainwashed into a terrible, terrible future. This is good for everybody, especially for me for right now, because you'll think I'm a really good person for calling for a ceasefire. Hamas charter says that they want to eradicate all Jews worldwide. That's a genocidal intent plus their actual attempts of massacres and genocide. Then the Palestinians come and say that Israel causes genocide against them, even though their population grew nearly 6 times as much as it was a few decades ago. They went from 350,000 in the 1960s in Gaza, and now there are 2.2 million Palestinians in Gaza. Then there's Pallywood, where they actually direct scenes where they allegedly die or are wounded. Check out the hashtag Pallywood, you'll see it for yourself. And then when we expose them for it, they turn around and say that everything that happened on October 7th, for example, is all AI, even though it's their own footage that they released. Now there's a lot of anti-Semitism and there's movement to stop, anti-Jew hate. And here they come out with stop Palestinian hate. And of course the fact that we are actually indigenous to the land of Israel, but they claim that they are. Dear world, some of your scriptures tell you that we are the enemy that must be killed. Some of your scriptures tell you that we are angelic and we must be blessed. What if you were to put your scriptures aside and look instead into your heart and look at us as the Jew who is just like you, that doesn't want to be on a pedestal of worship, definitely doesn't want to be on an altar of sacrifice, just want to walk this land equally and peacefully, as same as you. Hey there, Jew. Yeah, you. So you know how you try to keep quiet and you don't want to upset your anti-Zionist friends, anti-Semitic friends? Here's the thing. An average, and that's according to intelligence agencies over the world, for every one Jewish person, there's an average of nearly 30 people wanting you dead. You're outnumbered. You don't have the privilege or legitimacy to stay quiet. You need to talk, okay? The survival of your species is reliant on it. The future of your children is reliant on it. What are you doing? Start sharing. Start talking. If you won't, then who? Im ena nili mili.